Hi guys, and welcome to Escape Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Militado ML1868 Retro Military Quartz Chronograph. I received this watch for free from watchdives.com. I don't have to send it back, but you guys know the deal by now. That's not going to sway my review one way or the other. And if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving an affiliate link down in the video description. I am now a Watch Dives affiliate, so anything with a Watch Dives link is now going to be an affiliate link. Thank you guys so much for using my links. It really does help the channel. The current retail price for this watch is $129 US. That's before any sales, taxes, or coupons. You can use code ESCAPE10 for $10 off the purchase, and these do go on sale from time to time, so keep an eye out on that. Escape 10 code will put it right on the cusp of free FedEx delivery. They do free FedEx delivery for anything over $120. So just keep an eye on that. It might be worth it to not use that coupon code and just benefit from the free quick delivery from FedEx. So yeah, just something to weigh, I guess, if you're in the market for a watch like this. This watch is only available in this colorway that you see here, but you do have an option of straps. So we'll talk about those a little bit more in the strap section. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel, has a sapphire crystal, screw-down crowns, screw-down caseback, 100 meters of claimed water resistance, and it's powered by the Seiko VK61 Mecha Quartz movement. So if you guys follow my channel regularly or follow Chinese watches regularly, you'll instantly recognize this model as it's almost identical to the Baltony Vintage Military Chronograph. So I do have both of these in hand side by side. They're so close that it's very minor differences. So I will compare these two towards the end in my conclusion section. So if you're curious how these two compare, head over to my conclusions. If you just want to see this watch here, like I say, we get into this full review. But before we do, I am wearing, again, another Watch Dives watch. This is the San Martin SN0121 in blue. Reviewed that right up here, and it is absolutely fantastic. And I've really been struggling to take this off wrist since I got it about 2 weeks ago now, I think. So yeah, really happy with this watch. Very, very cool. All right, let's get into the dimensions. We've got a diameter of about 39 millimeters, thickness of 12.3 millimeters, a 20 millimeter lug width, lug tip to lug tip right at 47 millimeters, and on the supplied canvas strap, it weighs about 68 grams. So I really do like the size of this thing. It's 39 millimeters, pretty short lug to lug as well, and it's got nice turn down to those lugs there. It wears very comfortably on the wrist. The strap is pretty cool as well. Yeah, it's a really nice looking watch. I'm going to go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, it wears great. I've got no issues, just like with the Baltony, no issues with it. The curvature of those lugs is just perfect. It's very comfortable. It sits nicely on the wrist. It's not too thick or anything like that. And yeah, I think on this strap, it actually looks really cool. I like the strap, visually at least. We'll get into some more details about the strap. It is very comfortable, I'll give them that. And I think it looks really good on this one. And popping out into some direct sunlight, you can see here plenty of anti-reflective coating on the crystal. It keeps the dial nice and legible. I've got zero issues with this. I mean, it just looks great. Just like the Baltony, it just looks really, really good. Fully matte case, as you can see, and I just think it looks cool. All right, I'm not going to throw this on straps like I normally do. I'm going to point you to my Baltony review right up here, and then you can go, check out the straps on that. It's going to look obviously exactly the same, and the included nylon strap is pretty much the same thing from Baltony. So, yeah, that'll give you an idea of what that looks like as well. So go there. I'm a little bit limited on time, so that's why I'm doing it this way. So yeah, let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing on this. So case finishing is very simple. It is a 100% bead blasted case, as you can see here. Fully bead blasted in between the lugs, the bezel, the case back as well. It's all done very nicely. I have no complaints with it. Getting it up real close side by side with the Baltony here, you can see it's the same exact case finishing. Yeah, it's a very smooth bead blasting. I have the Hamilton Khaki Field as well, and that's a little bit more like a coarse brushing or blasting, I guess. So yeah, just something to note. It's very nice, very smooth, and I've got no complaints with it at all. It hides fingerprints really well, and yeah, I think it looks really good. You have screw down crowns here and they all are really nice. This is nice and big and chunky and plenty of grip on it. Same with these ones. They function perfectly. I've got no complaints with it. And flipping it over to the case back here, you have a screw down case back with simple notches to get a tool into, and you have your Militado branding, and that's the only place the branding shows up. And it's very simple, and I like the name actually. I think it is pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, again, very simple case finishing, but executed nicely. And the case itself is awesome. I just love the turn down to those lugs. It's a really comfortable case, and I think the proportions are just spot on. So yeah, really happy with the case finishing on this one. All right, let's talk about the crystal on this thing. First, we'll test it for sapphire. So it is positive for sapphire, and it's a pretty nice sapphire crystal, double domed, ever so slightly double domed, as you can see there. It does sit just a bit above the bezel, but not too bad. It's got a little polished chamfer there. It does have some anti-reflective coating. I will say the anti-reflective coating does a pretty good job of keeping the dial legible, but I will say it's not quite as good as the Baltony, as you can see right here. It's obviously, I think, a little bit exaggerated here, but yeah, just in everyday use, I think the Baltony is just a little bit more of a clear crystal. But again, the AR coating on this crystal, I think, is perfectly acceptable as well. It's just really good on the Baltony. All right, so let's talk about the dial on this thing. And the dial, again, pretty much unchanged from the Baltony. You have triangles at all the hour markers here in a Fotina lume. You have Fotina on the hour and minute hand as well. And then you have BGW9 for the numerals here, and then for the seconds hand as well. I think the handset that they used on this thing is really nicely done. And you can see here, one small little detail is hopefully that's coming through. Yeah, so the minute hand here, the tip of that minute hand kind of curves down a little bit. So that's just something they do to make it a little bit more legible. You have a really nice minute track printed around the outside, and it is printed in a very slight silver tone. I don't know if you guys can even see that, but it is a silver tone. It's not white like on the Baltony. And then you have your subdials here at the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock is the running seconds hand there, and then the 12 o'clock is the 60-minute counter for the chronograph. Yeah, simple hands, just like on the Baltony. I see no issues with the dial. I think the handset is really good. I think the lume is actually pretty decent as well. And I'm going to pop up the lume shot here, and you can see on the left is the Militado, on the right is the Baltony. The Baltony definitely has a better application of the BGW9. I'll say the Fotina lume is actually pretty close, but definitely after this 10-minute test, I came back into the dark room, and I could easily see the Baltony was a little bit better than this one. So just something to note, the lume is actually pretty decent on this watch. It's just not as good as the Baltony's. All right, so let's talk about the movement in this thing. And the movement is the same Seiko VK61 that you'll find in the Baltony. Really a great movement. I've got no issues with it. They're plus or minus 20 seconds per month. They're really nice movements. This one is operated by these crowns here. 3 o'clock crown here is your time setting position. And you'll also see you do have a ghost date. So this first position here, I don't hear, oh, I lied. I do hear the date clicking in the back there. You pull it out to the third position. This does hack the movement, and this is where you set your time. Everything functions as it should. It's very smooth. The crown threading is super smooth here. I've got no problems with it at all. The threading on the pushers as well, really nicely done, nice and smooth. And you can see a little bit of detail on those crowns beneath the actual screws. Yeah, pretty nicely done. But you get nice positive feedback from the start-stop button here. And you can see it sweeping around 5 ticks per second. But yeah, really nice positive clicks there, positive click down here as well, and you'll see the second hand snap right back into place. Everything lines up as it should. I have no issues with the movement. It's been fine. I mean, I've had this movement in plenty of watches, and it never has let me down. And I really do like these movements. They're great. So yeah, I think the movement is excellent on this watch. All right, so let's talk about the straps on this thing. So you do have options for straps. You have an option for a black nylon strap here. This is a 2-layer nylon, so the watch will sit here. You got 2 layers underneath the watch. Really nice hardware though. It is bead blasted to match the case, but really nice and solid. Unsigned buckle here, but again, bead blasted, really nice. And I think the strap itself is nice. I mean, it's hard to screw up a nylon strap. They did a good job on it. Sometimes you can get these things and they're really stiff. This one is nice and flexible. Everything has been sealed as far as the ends go. The holes, they also are sealed. So it should be a very rugged and durable strap. I've got no issues with that strap. The strap that this one came on, it's this really cool, they call it a green strap. It's very light green, almost like a greenish khaki color. I think it looks excellent. Looks really, really cool. So it is 20 millimeters and it does taper down to 18 millimeters at the clasp. You have one floating keeper here, one stationary keeper, nicely sewn in there as well. The buckle here, it's a little bit different than the other strap. I do prefer that buckle more than this one. This one's pretty generic, but it is, again, bead blasted to match the case. So I think it's done pretty nice. You have a leather coating on the bottom here. Again, pretty nice, pretty comfortable. I've had no issues with comfort on this watch. You do have quick release spring bars, which is nice to see. You got pretty nice stitching as well. It's hard to see it in there, but it is done pretty nicely. And then you've got this kind of leather part here sewn in for the reinforcement of the holes. I'm kind of right in this location for my 7.5-inch wrist, so this should fit up to an 8-inch wrist and then down to probably a 6.25-inch wrist, I'd say. So it should fit most wrist sizes. The only real complaint I have with the strap is that, you know, even now after wearing it a few days, it's still not super flexible, but again, it is very comfortable. I'm not going to want to throw this strap away. So far it is pretty good, but when you do put it on, it kind of gets caught in this area. I think the strap is just a little bit too tight into this buckle. You can see here, it kind of gets caught right there, and then it also gets caught on the edge of this this lip here a little bit. So that's just something I've noticed and kind of an annoyance when I'm putting it on wrist. Once it's on wrist though, everything is perfectly fine. And again, I think it looks really, really cool. So I'm really happy they gave us this strap as an option. All right, so there you go, guys. That is the Militado watch, and now I'm going to compare it to the Baltony. Like I mentioned earlier, they are pretty much identical. So the Militado, you're going to save about $20. So you're obviously going to make a couple compromises on that $20. So what are those compromises? Well, first off, I'm going to start out with what is the same. So I think the handset is pretty much the same. I think the case is identical. I think the straps are identical, maybe slightly different hardware on them, but for the most part, the straps are identical. The movement obviously is identical. So I think the compromises that you're going to make on the Militado is the dial does look a little bland or a little sparse without the branding on it. Some people like that, some people don't. That could be a positive, that could be a negative. That's up to you. I think the other difference is the anti-reflective coating here. So I'm going to show this window right next to me. You can see here, the Militado definitely doesn't have quite as much AR coating. Like I mentioned, it is still pretty good AR coating. It's just not as good as the Baltony. I think the Lume on the Baltony is also better. Again, I think the Lume on the Militado is good. It's just not as good as the Baltony. I think those are your main differences. As far as aesthetics, you do have that really slight turn down of the minute hand there on the Militado, where the Baltony is just straight there. Other than that, the color on the dials here, the Baltony is a little bit more orange on that Fotina, and that's pretty much it. You can see, I don't even know if you can see it. I'm going to get as close as I can, but you can see the minute track and all the white printing on the Baltony is definitely white on the Baltony, but it is a silver, and it kind of shimmers just a little bit. It's not something you notice without having them side by side, so I don't really think that's a selling point of the Militado. But yeah, there's your two watches side by side. I think they're both excellent. Whether you want to pay $150 for the Baltony and get the better Lume and the better AR, or you want to save a little bit and get that Militado, that's going to be up to you guys. Other than those very minor differences, they are, in my eyes, the same exact watch, and they're both really, really good. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.